A lot of people come to me and they say like, I can't find any jobs. I'm like, well, how many did you apply to? Applied to 12 jobs. It's like, well, okay, well, you need to start applying and then we'll see what happens, right? They say it's hopeless after they apply to like 15 jobs and don't hear back. I mean, you could have stopped there and you could have said the same thing, but you didn't. You kept going. And I mean, now you're working fully remote. So this guy landed a fully remote job in cybersecurity in 2024. And he did this with a very limited technical skill set. Not only that, he only had one entry-level cybersecurity certification prior to landing this. All the time I get guys in my DMs saying, I don't know if I'm cut out for cybersecurity. I don't think I'm ready to apply to jobs yet. I'm not technical enough. And they put all these barriers in their way. Now, there is one really, really important thing that is more important than the technical skill set. And this is something that I don't see anyone else really talking about online in this area. So stay tuned and we'll hear from what he has to say that allowed him to do that in this video. I'm here with NK, one of the members recently that I helped get a job in cybersecurity, and the amazing thing is he landed a fully remote cybersecurity job in 2024, which proves that the remote jobs are still out there. I know there's this huge push to hybrid. I think Amazon recently has pushed to full-on return to office where their employees are going 5 days a week. So I mean, hopefully that doesn't become more of a trend, but there are still remote jobs out there. And so I just kind of want to interview him today. And I'll start off by asking you, what was your inspiration to leave your current job? Because you were working in cybersecurity already. I helped him get a job twice in the last year and a half. So he's been crushing it. So he's currently in a cybersecurity role. And so what was your inspiration to leave that current job and look for other opportunities? I think they were trying to force you to, do the hybrid thing, right?
Yeah, so it's a bit complicated. It's mainly because of corporate politics. So
Yeah.
a lot of these tech companies, or even just bigger companies in general, go hire like contractors. So you're not a full-time employee. So for this current company that I'm in, I'm a contractor, and the biggest perk of that is working from home because I don't have to go into office. But when I first started, all the full-time people were going in the office 1 day a week. And on my interview, I had a feeling they would switch it to 3. And then like my 4th month in, they're making all the full-time people go
Oh,
back in
wow.
3 days a
So they
week.
did like the 1 day a week and then 3, and now what are they doing, full on, or are they still
Right
hybrid?
now it's 3 days a week, but they don't
But
think
they
they're
but
going to
they
switch
did
to
increase that, right? So they went from 1 to 3, and yeah, who knows what they're gonna do after that.
yeah, and all the full-time people were like really upset about it, and I don't blame them.
Mm,
I'd be heated too, to be honest.
yeah. And then they gave
Like,
you an ultimatum, right? They basically said like your contract position is gonna go away and you're gonna be forced to either be full time and go in the office 3 days a week or goodbye, pretty much, right?
yeah, basically. So it's a part of so my contract was a part of like was like a part of a program to help train you up and convert you to full time. Because a lot of contract roles will do that where you become contract as direct hire. But there was like a funding issue, and my manager was actually trying to vouch for me to like have more funding so he could renew my contract, because my manager and I have like we have really good terms. We work well together. And he told me like 2 months ago, like 3.5, 4 months before my contract expired, like, hey, you should start interviewing. I tried to like vouch for you, but I didn't really have much of a say in it. I'm sorry, man. And like he
Yeah.
did what he could, I get it. And like I expressed to him before that, hey, I appreciate that you want me to go full time, but working from home is better for me. It better suits my lifestyle and my work style too. And he understood that because he doesn't want to be in the office, but he has no choice but to go in there. And when I told him, I
Mhm.
was like, I appreciate the honesty. And honestly, I don't blame you, but I can't guarantee your contract getting renewed because it's only for a year of the program. So he explained to me like the
Yeah,
nuances
he probably
behind
didn't
it.
have
And
the
he was like,
power to do anything. Yeah.
yeah, he said he could try talking and like vouching for it, but he says it probably won't be much. So I appreciate
Mhm.
the effort.
And so, I mean, you could have just accepted the hybrid role, and I think that's what most people would have done. But you were like, "No, screw that. I am getting remote." Yeah, you made that happen. So, what are you doing in this new role? How is it any different than what you're doing previously?
Yeah, it's more of a like so right now I'm more of a security engineer
Okay.
where I configure endpoint policies and make custom rules for the endpoint.
Hmm.
And this new role is more so like internal security, like looking at alerts. It's a SOC analyst role, but instead of
Okay.
external, we're looking more so internal alerts. And I do that at my current role already with Carbon Black. So I had the experience doing internal, and for my last job before this, I had external analyst role looking at alerts. So
Okay.
this just job came up perfectly as well. But the manager, he wanted me to get involved with more like this engineering type of projects with like another team. And I said, yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
And the big
Nice.
thing that helped
Yeah.
me.
Well, one of the things that I thought was pretty awesome about your journey is that, I mean, we're working we're working together for a while on this one, helping you get the job here. And at first you were like not landing too many interviews, and we kind of tweaked your resume around a little bit, and then you were like bombing the interviews, and we did some mock interviews. We helped you, worked with you a little bit there. And so how many jobs would you say that you applied to before you landed this one ultimately?
I'm just throwing a guesstimate, but
Like, yeah, if you
definitely
had to
100 to
guess,
300. Yeah,
100 to
definitely more than
300.
100.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Yeah,
So
more
a
than
lot of people,
300, I'll
I
say.
ask that because a lot of people come to me and they say like, I can't find any jobs. I'm like, well, how many did you apply to? I applied to 12 jobs. It's like, well, okay, well, you need to start applying, and then we'll see what happens, right? But yeah, a lot of people, their idea of, they say it's hopeless after they apply to like 15 jobs and don't hear back. So, I mean, you could have stopped there and you could have said the same thing, but you didn't. You kept going, and I mean, now you're working fully remote. So I think that it's good to put that in perspective. Yeah. So like 100 to 300. Wow, that's pretty remarkable. Yeah. About how many interviews did you do? I know you're doing a number of those.
So from the past 2.5 to 3 months of my job hunt, I've had a lot of round one interviews with recruiters because I've had a lot of recruiters hit me up.
Yeah, that was funny. They
But
would
I,
hit you up, and it's almost like they were like working off of Chat GPT or something, because they would hit you up, and then they would be like, "Oh, you're
yeah,
not qualified." What's why did you hit me up? You should have known
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, you looked at my
Yeah, I was like,
profile, you saw it. Yeah.
yeah, literally, that's what happened. And for this one, I saw what was required for the job description. I was like, oh, I did this at my first company, too easy.
Yeah, so like
And yeah,
if you had to estimate, if you had to guess, like how many interviews did you do?
including the round one interviews, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like let's say in the past like 2 months when you're on this job hunt between then and landing this one.
I would say I've had at least a dozen round one interviews with recruiters.
Hmm.
But as far as round two interviews with an actual hiring manager, one with the hiring manager and one that I had a couple weeks ago that I told you about.
Okay. So like 12 round one interviews, two with the hiring manager.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think that puts it into perspective, right? So, realistically, for a lot of you guys, like, and you, I mean, you have a background in cybersecurity. You had a previous job in cybersecurity, which I helped you get into that, by the way. So even if you guys are watching this video and you have no background in cybersecurity, well, I mean, I think this guy also proves that if you persist and you apply, you will get in. Even if you have a little bit of experience, you still need to run volume. So he applied to between 100 and 300 jobs. And out of that, he got like 12 interviews. And out of the 12 interviews, only two of them went to the next round. And out of those, he landed one job. And ultimately, that's all you need to do is you just need one yes. It doesn't matter. Now that he's working this remote job, no one's going to be like, well, how many jobs did you get turned down by before you got this one? Like, no one cares, right? So you got this job, and I mean, that's really all you were after and all that really matters. So I think that you are a perfect embodiment of the, idea of tenacity and persistence, right? Because I mean, I'm sure it was frustrating for you, no doubt, like
Oh
when you
yeah.
were applying to those jobs and getting turned down or going to these interviews, especially like when they're reaching out to you and then they're like, yeah, you're not qualified. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't getting frustrated and burned out on a couple points.
Hmm.
So
And I
like
like
that
what you
like
did as well, right? It's like even when you were like getting burned out a little bit, you just took a vacation in the middle of this. You're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to Germany for a few days, chill out, and then you came back, and that's like shortly after is when you landed this job. Yeah.
yeah, like the break was really good. It was refreshing. Like when I was in Europe, I was good to go and I just hit it. I just got back on that grind, hitting it
Hmm.
hard, studying every day.
Yeah.
And since I got the offer, it feels really good not studying,
Oh
like
yeah,
just taking a
absolutely.
break.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll continue your learning, but like yeah, just having that, the job in the
Breaks.
bag is yeah, having those breaks and stuff. Because like a lot of people they would be in panic mode when they're applying to all these jobs and they're not getting anything, and they sure as hell wouldn't like be taking like a break or whatever, or think that they could, but you did so and you were more energized after that. So I think
Yeah.
that's important too, is just like not panicking and not freaking out just because like you're not getting the job right away, and just being willing to weed through the nose to get to that one yes. Or I mean, it's really all you have to do.
Yeah, and I totally, I had a mindset saying either I've been remote since COVID started,
Mm.
and I refuse to go back in the office, especially with the experience that I have now. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. Now,
yeah, I
okay,
was
now,
like,
I mean, certainly now, like you should never settle for that. But yeah, even for
fuck
me, it's
no.
like that was like when I left my regular corporate job was when they were trying to tell us to go back into the office. And I wouldn't be surprised if I see my former company doing the Amazon policy, making them go in 5 days a week. But yeah, we'll see. But I
Yeah,
think the issue, right? I work with a lot of smart people. I work with a lot of smart guys, and I mean, certainly, like you're no dummy, but I mean, you were less technical than a lot of guys that are in my mastermind and things like that. And I see all the time guys have these doubts, especially smart guys. They have these doubts, the self doubt that says, like, oh, I'm not technical enough. I can't land a job. And a lot of people that are trying to get into the field, they're like, I don't think I'm cut out for it because I'm not super technical and all this stuff. I think you're a perfect embodiment of the fact that you don't need to be super technical. And really, the biggest part of the equation, if you want to land a job in cybersecurity, yeah, you need to learn and be persistent in your learning. But the number one thing is, when it comes time to apply to the jobs, you need to be unwaveringly persistent and be able to deal with rejection and just keep on going, because that's exactly what you did. Because if you just run volume, all you need to do is get one yes. If you just run volume, you will get that yes. So you don't have to be the most technical person. And I think that, yeah, you embodied that perfectly.
yeah, thanks. And also, mindset that helped me was since I only wanted to stay remote and my current contract was ending, I came to the acceptance that, all right, this job hunt might take a while. Statistically and logically speaking, I'm okay with being jobless.
Mm.
I have plenty
Yeah,
of
you
savings.
were, I remember you telling me that. You're like, this is so important to me that even if I was jobless, I would be okay with that. And
Yeah,
I
because
think
I'm
like
not
that
gonna.
mindset, even though, no one wants to be jobless, obviously, but you having that mindset is probably what allowed you to be calm under the pressure and just keep on going, where a lot of people would like, they would crack, they would quit, they would fold, they would
Yeah,
accept the
it takes.
hybrid role. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of mental resilience too. And
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's not always easy to learn and do.
Also at the same time, right? It's not like you were just like rote doing the same thing over and over, beating your head against the wall. You were, we can talk a little bit later about how you're using AI in your job search and stuff like that. But, we're
Mhm.
also working together, helping tweak your resume and helping you with interview prep. How helpful would you say that was for you? Like the resume tweaks, the interview prep, mock interviews and stuff we
It
did?
was it was really good. You definitely have a keen eye for interviews, and you're very stringent with your interviews, which is actually a good thing because you want someone to give you that straightforward and honest feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because for me, I've conducted like over 100 of them in my career. Obviously, I've been through them myself as well. So that's like one of those things. It's like, I think like with your level of persistence, even on your own, could you have gotten a job? I think so. Yeah. But it would have just taken longer. So I think that's the main thing about mentorship. It's not that like your mentor is giving you this profound secret that cannot be found anywhere else on the internet. It's just that it's condensing down the amount of time that you need to take. So like you got a job in like 1 to 300 applications. If you didn't have any help whatsoever,
that sucks.
maybe it would have taken you like 800 or 900 or something, But,
Yeah,
eventually, for everyone watching out there, eventually you will get a job. But like, I guess it's a matter of like, what is your time worth to you? Because like, for example, when I looked at your resume, I was like, okay, we need to make this change, and this change. And then boom, like you went and you made those changes, and then you were getting like a bunch of reach outs from recruiters and stuff like that. You're getting a bunch of interviews, right? And then with your interviewing, I listened to some of the phone interviews and stuff like that you've done, and giving you some mock interviews. I'm like, okay, here's what you need to work on. And, could you have figured that out on your own? I mean, sure, you can, but you would just have to fail way more interviews and then like look up the answers, and like it's a very rote process. So, when you leverage a mentor, I can just be like, oh yeah, this is what you need to work on. You work on that, and it just streamlines the process so much faster. But I think another thing that you do very well is the soft skill side of it. I think that a lot of people especially content creators are really big on, they'll tell you what you need to do in terms of the hard skills. And I'm a little guilty of this as well. But the soft skills are very overlooked and they're very important as well. So when I say soft skills, I'm talking about like your people skills and stuff like that. And that was something that really, you do a really good job of that, but you really leverage that in your last two jobs, this one that you just got and the one before that, especially having your military background to build rapport in the interview. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so I definitely view my military background with the interviewer
Yeah.
because that's something that I also want to do, would love to do eventually, like just being on the other side and helping another veteran out by just giving them a chance, you know.
Yeah.
Like if I was interviewing and I saw a guy who was a veteran and he wasn't super technical, but he seemed like he was a squared away guy and he could learn, I would throw him a bone, you know. And sometimes that's all you need. You just need that one person to throw you a bone.
What I think is important to keep in mind is for everyone watching this, maybe you don't have military background experience. Maybe you have something else. You don't have to be the most technical person. You don't have to be a military person, but you need to have something. You need to have some value. I think it's a matter of figuring out like what you can bring to the table and like what background you have and just leveraging that in the best way. And I think that's where a mentor can help you as well, because, especially if it's someone that has experience with the interview process, they can look at your overall profile and say like, hey, this is what you need to double down on. This is what's going to get you in the field. I think for a lot of people that are military vets, there's so many people that I know in cybersecurity that are also military vets. So if you can have that connection with them, build rapport with them in that way, then that can open up a lot of doors for you, even if you're not the most technical person. But if you have something else, there's a lot of opportunities to connect with people and build rapport on those other things as well. And so now I want to talk a little bit more about how you leveraged AI during your job hunting, because I think that was really interesting as well, because I know you're really big on that. And so can you talk about a little bit how, what are the ways that you used AI during this process?
So I would just copy paste the chat description, put in a chat GPT, and I would ask, what are technical skills? What are the technical questions? Teach me these skills, and I would make cheat sheets, and I would study the cheat sheets to help like articulate my technical knowledge. But what's kind of funny is what I would kind of misprepare, and like the technical questions that I did prepare for, they would ask me like the total opposite. Like for this current job, the technical stuff I studied for, they didn't ask me anything that I studied for.
Yeah, this one was less technical. Yeah.
Yeah, but the last interview I had, it was kind of, they asked me some of the technical stuff I studied, but it was only like surface level stuff I prepared for. And then when they would like dive deeper into what I knew and I didn't have like that advanced level knowledge they were looking for, that was a bit of a discrepancy. But yeah, it was definitely a good start. In my opinion, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, and then also I like how you like kind of took a hybrid approach with it, right? You use chat GPT, you ask them these questions to help you prepare for interviews, but then you ran it by me as well, and then I could say like, yeah, this is good, or no, this is bad. So I think that was a really good approach, the way you utilized both the mentorship and AI. So I think that's one of the best things, if you can have someone double check the work, because sometimes it can be confidently wrong, and I helped you point out those times, and but you also got a lot of benefit out of it as well.
Yeah.
So like, what would be your advice to others that they want to get into cybersecurity, but they think they aren't ready or they're not technical enough?
I mean, you never know until you try and fail, you know. It's better to, as corny as it sounds, it's better to try and fail than wonder what if, or like hold yourself back from self-doubts, you know. For me personally, my mindset was, it was more of a do or die type of thing, you know, be jobless at the end of October, mid-November, and just say jobless, or just grind it out as much as I can now.
Yeah, that is a good point. I think those, and I've talked about this on some of my videos before, but I believe those negative motivators are so powerful, right? Because everyone wants to be like, I just wanted this thing and I got it, right? And that's great, but a lot of times what's going to be way more motivating is some negative situation. So if you're watching this video and you have like some dire situation where you're like, I need to make this happen, yeah, that sucks to be in that situation, but that is like, in terms of motivation, you can't get any better than that, right? It's like, I got to make this happen or I'm going to be jobless, So it's like, there was no chance that you would like not feel like doing it or whatever, right? So it's like, you had to make it happen. And I think, if anyone's in that situation, or even if you can artificially create something like that, I think it can be great for motivation.
Yeah, you just got to figure out your why and just like kind of stick with it and remember, like since I've been remote for like 4.5 years, I'm like, the office. I'm never going back to this. I'm not getting cuffed
Yeah.
into slavery, you know. That's how I view it, at least,
Oh
But
yeah, it sucks. It
someone,
sucks. No doubt
yeah,
about
if
it.
someone,
Yeah.
yeah, if
And
somebody
all
likes
these people that
going,
are going back, let's make no mistake, they don't, the vast majority of them, they don't want to go back either. They're just taking it as the easy way out, right? And especially if they have a family or something like that, or they have all this debt because they like bought all these
circumstances, yeah.
expensive things, they're not as flexible in their life. And so they have to make these sacrifices, or they feel like they have to make these sacrifices, and they're not willing to take the same level of risk as you are as well. But you were willing to take the risk, and you put in the work. And so I think that is the ultimate thing.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy goal, but if you want something bad enough, you'll go after it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like if you look at these high level UFC fighters or boxers, they see the championship they want and they just like keep working for it to keep grinding it out.
Yeah.
They take the risk of like putting their bodies on the line and brain damage. I don't know how well that relates to here, but I box, so that's the analogy I like to
Yeah, no, I
use.
like
That I
it.
would always, yeah, that was a comparison that I would always think of.
They're putting that much on the line, so I'm sure like you can put some of your ego on the line to apply to a job
Oh
and
yeah,
like get rejected or whatever. Because I think it's also important to understand that you're getting, a lot of these people are getting triggered because they're not hearing back. But a lot of times, like, what are you getting mad at? Really, think about, what are you getting mad at? A chatbot? Because like that's what's like reviewing a lot of people's resumes when they're like auto rejecting it. It's like some kind of automation. Maybe it's AI. Maybe it's not even AI. Maybe it's just like a script looking for keywords. Are you mad at the code? Like, what are you mad at? Because like a lot of times
yeah,
it's not even a human rejecting you nowadays if you're
yeah.
like applying through a portal or whatever.
Yeah, for me, the frustrations came from just the multiple rejections. No matter how many times I would try to like re-optimize my resume for a description, which you talk about.
Yeah.
And then there's just like the news of like all right, I'm gonna be a bit brash here, but there's a lot of these idiots on YouTube that say, oh, you can't get a remote job. It's nearly impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Dude,
I think
and
it's
you
good that
shut the
you,
f- up. Look at
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have a bunch of other buddies that still gotten remote jobs.
Yeah, and I
Like I feel
think that
like
like that's one of the traps. Like a lot of people, if you're watching on YouTube, right? You probably watch a lot of other people on YouTube as well. These content creators will say these things, and then people will believe certain things, and they'll believe that they need like 10 different certifications just to get into cybersecurity. How many certs do you have, by the way?
oh me, only three.
Yeah, three, and that's three more than I had when I got into the field. So
I'm
I
done
mean,
with
yeah,
certs, man.
there's so
That
many,
shit.
yeah, there's so many people on YouTube and stuff that they're making these people believe that they need like 10 different certs, and then they have to like go down this convoluted path of like starting in help desk, working there for a year, then going into IT and working as a sysadmin for a few years, and then maybe getting lucky and getting into cybersecurity, in another few years. So it's like you can listen to those people if you want, and that path will work, by the way. But it's like, how do you want to get to your destination, right? If you were, I make this analogy all the time, but if you were to fly from New York to LA, there's a lot of ways you can get there. You could just fly west, or you could fly east, and you can traverse the entire Atlantic Ocean. You can go across Europe, you can go across Asia, and eventually you will land in LA. But I mean, what route do you want to get there in? If you want to learn cybersecurity, I say you should just learn cybersecurity, right? You can learn the stuff along the way, right? You can learn the fundamentals as you go. Yeah, I think that that's the trap as well. There's a lot of people out there like planting these ideas in people's heads because they think that
Yeah,
that's how
it's
it is.
all.
It's all BS,
Yeah,
man.
that's what I like about you. You're straightforward, honest, and you keep it 100.
Yeah. So, like, with that being said, like, what would you say to those that are considering cybersecurity mentorship, but maybe they're on the fence and they're not sure yet?
I mean, if you want real life feedback from someone who's been a senior in the field and knows what they're talking about, I would definitely recommend it for sure.
Yeah.
And you've been really helpful with me, Ryan. So I greatly appreciate all the time and
Oh, yeah. I appreciate
bot
that. Thank you.
generated content I made you look through.
No, I think you're like the ideal student because you ask a lot of questions. I think the one mistake that a lot of people make with mentorship is they join the mentorship, but then they're like afraid to ask questions, or they're afraid to like hit up the mentor, and ask a question. But that's like, it's what you paid for. That's the whole purpose of it, right? So I like that, you're not shy to ask the questions, and anytime you need help, you reach out so that I can actually help you. And I think that's a big part of your success as well.
Yeah, and you're like super approachable. You're a really nice guy. You know what you're talking about.
Perfect. Yeah, I appreciate that. Are there any like closing thoughts that you'd like to add, or anything that you want to tell everyone that's watching?
Yeah, if you want a remote job, just go for it. I mean, there's definitely ways to get experience that isn't formal. Like my experience before breaking in wasn't formal at all. I just had to find that one person to give me my to just throw me a bone essentially, but it's
Mhm.
possible. And there are good hiring managers out there. Like I've had great experiences with the ones that I've had because what they saw is like not so technical. They saw as someone who's willing to learn and be persistent, had good people skills, and was willing to put into work in and would be a good fit to the team.
Yeah, and I think especially like people get like they get discouraged because they see like all these applicants on these jobs or whatever. And that might be the case, but if you just keep applying and you keep looking for jobs out there, like I was saying earlier, you only need one yes. So if you find the one job that, they give you a bone, throw you a bone, as you said, or give you an opportunity, that's really all you need. And the golden gumball analogy is really good. So like if you imagine like you go to a mall, those like gumball machines for 25 cents, they're probably like what, $5 now or something, who knows? But you put the quarter in the machine, right? You turn the thing. If you imagine there's like one golden gumball in that machine, right? The chance that you get that on your first quarter, I mean, that's pretty much like winning the lottery. You're probably not going to get the golden gumball and putting one quarter in that machine. But if you keep putting quarters in, eventually you're going to get to that golden gumball. So that's all you need is you just need to get to that one success. And then from there, um, you know, now you can say you worked in cybersecurity, have like real experience, and it just gets easier and easier from there. But certainly in the beginning it's a little hard, but you have to put in the volume trumps everything. And I hope, if there's no other takeaway from this interview, it's that volume will always win in the end. So you just got to be persistent.